And of course, good evening. It is Friday, July 15th, and we are just over the top of the hour. It's the third Friday of the month, which of course means exactly one thing. Of course, good evening. It is Friday. That it is time for that show about film and television trivia, Matinee Minutia. And so you will be so good as to let me know in the chat room if you can hear the sound of my voice. We'll be.
I can hear you. You're live. You're streaming.
Okay.
You're live. You're streaming. Is my sound all right?
You sound perfectly fine to me. Do you hear any fans or anything in my room?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm just sending a message out into the ethers there for someone who's going to try to join us. But, for those who might be straggling behind, maybe we'll just give it until 5 after and we'll go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let's see. What do I have here that I could play? You know what? I could head over to the YouTubes here and
give us some of that Henry Mancini goodness.
Yes, let's see.
Is it Mancini or Mancini?
I've always heard Mancini.
Okay, I think me too. Yeah.
Someone of Italian extraction might tell you different. Let's see. I've got. Ooh, I found the full album. And how do I turn this here down, Jane? There we go. That way I can talk to you a little. And this is the full album. Woo! I see the little RCA Victor label that somebody peeled off back in the day.
Now, I wonder if he did the music for the whole movie, or he just did the main thing.
It's a good question. The soundtrack seems to have at least 6 titles, and I don't remember there being anything other than instrumental, so he could have, and this is certainly that period of time where they would have written a score just for this because they weren't using pop music.
Yeah. Myron's here.
This is the perfect music for our ushers, our showgirl, to escort people to their seats.
Well, okay, I guess so. I guess if I have to be the one to do that. Oh, yeah, that's right. I am the usher. No, it's fine. I'm ready.
Now behave there with your flashlight. I don't want to have any complaints.
Oh, no.
It was too expensive on the insurance that last time.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a feeling. I just know Gertie's gonna say something about how she should have been Audrey Hepburn in this movie.
Hey, you could have waited till I said that.
I knew it.
Well, we got to also talk about Gertie's ride too, because she's got that sweet little scooter,
Oh yeah.
I bet it's a gas saver.
Ooh, well, I think it's about 5 after here, so if you're late to the party, good luck getting some of that 7-layer dip that Gertie is so famous for. Okay, and let me make sure that I am recording this. Looks like I am. Okay, so I guess away we go. Good evening, and welcome to the beautiful historical Marionette Theater, where something's afoot. There's a blushing, not bride anymore, but a lady who's living abroad that finds out her husband isn't the guy she thought he was. She spends the rest of it trying to figure that out. Well, you will take your seats, folks. Matinee Minutia is about to begin. Hello, good evening, Mr. Smelly. How are you this fine night, this fine July night? We're firmly into summer.
We certainly are. It's been lovely, although dry. We need some rain rather desperately around here, anyways. It's been threatening to rain like every day, and it never does. But it's been lovely. The nights, most of them, it's cooled off so that it's not horrible inside. So I can't complain. It's been nice.
Yeah, I mean, hubby spent a good amount of time mowing the yard down so that Mrs. Kravitz wouldn't complain. And we've been out without rain for long enough that it's going to be a while before it springs back to life.
Yeah, probably.
But, on these rainless nights, at least our senior showgirl hasn't had to hurry into the building to close those skylights because we don't want to ruin the furniture again.
Of course, they drip, but they need to be recaulked.
Yes, they do. And well, as they say, she knows a guy. So you got a job that needs to be done. You don't even need to go to that temp agency. You just go to Gertie because she knows a guy.
She knows lots of guy. I mean, no, that's not what I mean. No, yeah.
I thought I heard the hum of a scooter coming around the corner there, and I think our showgirl has gotten her ride back from the inbound lot.
Yeah, she's all about that scooter. She says,
I can talk for myself. It saves me lots of money. It's very safe, and I can weave in and out of the traffic here at Mud Flats. Because we got lots of traffic, not really, but oh my God, I love it. Oh, I feel like such a free spirit when I'm riding it.
wow, that's nice.
Isn't it true that it was your grandmother's and she got it because she loved Audrey Hepburn in that movie? What was it? Roman Holiday, where she was going around on the scooter everywhere?
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, if you want to believe that. No, just the truth. Yeah, not really. But anyways, it's a good story, DJ. No, it's a brand new electric scooter, modern, don't you know? But I do feel like Audrey Hepburn riding around on it. I do.
Well, she is certainly in our film tonight, and if you will get yourself down there to the stage,
Okay,
we'll
I'm
introduce
going.
this for the folks.
I'm going.
There she goes.
Just we folks, please do tip our showgirl because well, she's got some unpaid parking tickets. Oh, did I let the cat out of the bag?
Shush, shush, shush.
Here we go.
Regina is a disenchanted American expatriate who's grown tired of spending time apart from her husband. She's decided it's time to call things off. But before she's had a chance to have the papers drawn up, she's called to the morgue to identify her husband's body. Over the next few days, she notices she's being followed by strange men who came to the funeral. What do they want? Who was the man she'd married? Is the handsome older guy the enemy? And more important, is he single? Grab a pair of sunglasses, a trench coat, and your passport. We're going to Paris. It's time for Charade with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. Get it, boys.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen? A pinch of golden oldies and a smidgen of screaming. It's time for Matinee Minutia with your hosts DJ and Topi.
Okay, so this is Not actually our first time abroad, Mr. Smelly. I think that we have been to Gay Paris about 3 times now, if you can believe that.
Okay, now I know Moulin Rouge,
Mm-hmm.
um, Phantom
And
of Paradise.
maybe, but it was actually ironically in tonight's film, they mentioned the movie by name as they're going along the river there. They're taking a stroll and they talk about Mr. Gene Kelly in that movie, American in Paris.
Oh, yes, yes.
So that apparently had happened just a few years before and was still a topic of conversation.
Well, I could tell you the reason probably that got in there was the producer and director was really good buddies with Kelly. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, that was probably a little tip of the hat to him. We'll talk about more about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. And actually, let me find something that I always seem to be forgetting to put back. Let's see here. Okay, I've got that there. And let me adjust it. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. A gentleman never adjusts himself in public.
Right.
Okay, so Topi, something we do to put ourselves in the mood?
Yeah. Why don't we talk about the date, 1963? Kind of fill us in. What was happening back then?
All right, so this is the world history in 1963. Way back then, my house is actually only a year old. So, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa is displayed for the only time in the US at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. You know, if I was a European, I probably wouldn't trust Americans with my treasuries either. Oh,
Well, I got to tell you, can you imagine the security around that?
truly. African American Harvey Gantt is admitted to Clemson University in 63. And South Carolina is the last state to hold out against racial integration. Interestingly enough, South Carolina is also the home state of the director of this film.
Huh.
Let's see. Travel, financial, and commercials transactions by the United States citizens to Cuba are made illegal by John F. Kennedy's administration. 63.
No more cigars.
Yes. The invasion was about to begin, and some think that was the beginning of his undoing. Okay, in 63, Iron Man, for our comic book nerds out there, debuted for its first time in Marvel's Comics Tales of Suspense number 39.
Yay.
Woohoo!
And back then, his costume was all gold.
Ooh.
I think it was gold. Anyways, it was freaking yellow. No, I'm sorry. It started out gray. Then it was yellow.
Oh. It depended on if you had the color TV. Oh, we were talking about comics. Okay. In 63, Gideon versus Wainwright was a case that the Supreme Court ruled the state courts are required to provide counsel in criminal cases for defendants who cannot afford to pay their own attorneys. This was back in 63. Now, I don't have the details, but people, you need to pay attention to world events and recent news because there were some decisions. Let me get my teeth in here. Some decisions made recently that affects the reading of Miranda rights, your rights as a citizen when you're under arrest, and if you've possibly broken the law. Look it up, folks. Some of our states are not requiring that those be read, and it used to be if you weren't read your rights that you weren't arrested lawfully.
What's going on here?
I know. Moving on, we have, speaking of rights and breaking the law, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary on Alcatraz Island, the Rock, in San Francisco Bay. It closed in 63 The last 27 prisoners at Alcatraz were transferred elsewhere. They scattered them to the wind, you know.
Do we know why it closed? I mean, I don't want you to look it up. I just wonder.
Well, I think that the facility was outgrowing its usefulness because there were too many people being put away there.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there were too many people escaping.
No, although the building was in disarray and disrepair because of the salt air. So I assume that was making it easier for people to get in and out. But there was a Sean Connery movie about this in the 90s. Let's see. The 35th Academy Awards in 1963 were hosted by Frank Sinatra and held at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia won and received the most awards and nominations with 7 and 10, winning Best Picture.
Oh, one of the most amazing movies ever.
And Lean won Best Director. In 1963, Coca-Cola debuted its first diet drink. Now, by the time I was a lad, Michael J. Fox was doing their advertisement.
I had no idea. No idea it went back that far.
I know, and I think they only recently stopped making it.
Well, I should hope so, for heaven's sakes.
It was an acquired taste. It's like a Royal Crown Cola, you know.
By the way, if anyone knows the difference between Coke Zero or any of these zeros and Diet Coke, just send me an email, okay? Because, you know.
Well, I could tell you, but that's a different show.
Okay.
In 1963, Dr. No, you know, it's all about consent in the 21st century. They said no. Dr. No, the first James Bond film, was shown in theaters in the US for the first time in 1963. So we started paying attention to the 007 stories. And in 1963, the film Cleopatra, which of course starred Elizabeth Taylor, Rex Harrison, and Richard Burton, was released in the United States.
Yes, famously, way over budget.
Yes, and I hear, as the kids say, Liz was generous with her gentleman callers. that might have involved Mr. Richard Burton, but I digress. Okay, so in 1963, Walt Disney, the Mouse House, debuted the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disneyland. You know, that's the park on the West Coast, not the one in Florida. And it premiered the first audio animatronics in the park that year. Now, I'm not sure that you'd know this topic because I know you were just a wee one at the time, but can you imagine a time when you wrote a letter to someone and you weren't sure it was going to get to them? Well, in 1963, the Postal Service first implemented zip codes.
I did not know that. Yeah, I mean, before that, you know, people used to address things in the strangest way. And, you know, for the most part, they actually got to where they were supposed to be. But if you look at old envelopes and the addresses, it's like Mr. Timothy Smith, Boston. I was just like, you know, but yeah, I don't remember, you know, of course, I don't remember a time before zip codes, but.
Oh, goodness. And then, you know, by the time I was out of short pants, they added 4 digits to zip codes. They called it the super zip.
Nobody uses those. Nobody uses them. I'm sorry. Nobody uses them.
Oh, so speaking of things that we may not use anymore, telephones. The first push button telephone, you know, touch tone, was available to 80 Ma Bell customers in the US in 1963, all back then.
Myron Gertz in the chat room. Because we do have a chat room, folks. We're doing this live. She says zip codes were scary when they first came out.
No, I bet you didn't know this, Topi. The first couple of digits of a zip code tell you what part of the country someone is in. And the zip codes on the East Coast are lower numbers. So zeros, then ones. By the time you get out to the Midwest, you've got 5s and 6s. Texas has 7s, and Colorado has 8s, and California has 9s.
I guess I didn't know that.
I know way too much about this, so let's move on. Let's see now. Finishing out 63, Disney released their 18th feature-length animated motion picture when Mr. Walt Disney was still with us in 63, The Sword and the Stone, and it was about the boyhood of King Arthur. It was Disney's final animated film to be released during Walt's lifetime before his death a few years later in 66.
All right. Well, let me tell you some of the boys, as I like to say, celebrities, entertainers. You'll know these names. We've got the William Baldwin. Yeah. We've got the Chase Masterson. Star Trek connection.
Yes,
Lita on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Brett Michaels, musician. Vanessa Williams, model, actress, singer. Kathy Ireland, another model. Quentin Tarantino, that I don't know, that ribald director out there. Lisa, jeepers. Let's see if let me make sure I pronounce this right. Welchel.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Welchel, did I do it right?
Yes, and I'll tell you where she's from. Girls.
There. And if you don't know what that means, it was the facts of life. Johnny Depp, Lisa Kudrow, Whitney Houston. Oh, Whitney. John Stamos, Richard Max. He's a musician. Elizabeth Shue lives in a shoe. No, she doesn't. She's an actress from Adventures in Babysitting. Brad Pitt. Oh my goodness, he's only 1 year younger than me. Well, we know Brad Pitt because we did Thelma and Louise here, and that was his big debut. And I don't remember ever being so electrified by a young man in a movie when I saw Thelma and Louise. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say here we are, and Brad Pitt lit Topi's pants on fire with Thelma and Louise. And I was just glad that he got shot in a movie called Burn After Reading.
Oh, dear.
But to be honest, he played a ditzy blonde character. So it was meant to be. I have enjoyed some films Brad Pitt in. Anyways, back in 63, Topi, to put your mind into what else was going on, because this is a film that we're talking about tonight, Charade. The other films that were maybe competing for your attention at the box office there, as we've mentioned, the big winner at the Academy Awards, Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Well, that was number one, and it brought in $57 million in 60s money. And then coming up next was the number two on the ladder there. It was a film with Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne.
Mary, don't you recognize me?
Oh, that's my
Eat your Campbell's soup. It was How the West was won, and John Wayne was one of Dad's favorites, and I just can't imagine Jimmy Stewart being in it. I'm sure it was good. I'll have to see it. It brought in $46.5 million. Number three at the box office that year. It was a film with Spencer Tracy and Milton Berle, just to name a few.
Just to name a few.
It's a mad, maybe more mads world.
Yeah, and if you can tell by these movies, Cleopatra, How the West Was Won, It's a Mad world. The movies were competing with television, and they were trying like hell to get people to come back, get out of their seats, get out of their house, come back to the movies. And so they were basically saying, look at what we can do. We can do these huge, long epics on widescreen, and it's going to knock your socks off. So all of these were widescreen epic movies. And I'd love to know, and I don't know if Charade was widescreen. It wasn't an epic like Cleopatra. Anyways, I don't know if Charade was released in any special way. But where did Charade come in there?
Oh, DJ? Goodness, Topi. I think that perhaps we're going to not ruin, but maybe change our reputation, because there are expectations
You
here.
mean Charade did good?
Oh my goodness, Charade actually came in number 10. And it's surprising, not because I thought it was an underdog film, not with Audrey Hepburn in it, certainly, but this movie was released in December of 63. So for being one of the last films on the tally for the year, it did quite well. It was number 10, and it brought in 13.4 million of 60s money. Now, to give you an idea of what it was up against more directly, the film that did one better than Charade was a film called McClintock, which of course had Mr. John Wayne. I'm forgetting John Wayne's nickname there, but
Duke.
Yes, the Duke.
The Duke.
And
wait a minute. I'm thinking of McLeod, not McClintock. No, it's different. It's
those Scottish names. They always trip you up there. And of course, along with Mr. John Wayne was Maureen O'Hara, one of Dad's favorites.
She was pretty.
Oh yes, it brought in 14.5 million. And the film that did one less better than Charade. I'm a little surprised. I forgot that this was the cast. Now, I actually tried out for a part in this play in high school, and well, I wasn't a very good student. I was kind of on academic probation, so I didn't get to be in the play. But it was Bye Bye Birdie, which starred Mr. Dick Van Dyke and smoldering temptress Anne Margaret, and it brought in 13.4 million in 63.
I'm not totally sure, but I think Dick Van Dyke and Anne Margaret were doing it on Broadway, I think. Along with what's his face from Bewitched, the Uncle Arthur. What's his name?
Oh, Paul Lynde.
Paul Lynde.
Okay.
Anyways, I think.
I watch his Halloween special every.
No. Oh my God. Well, let's talk about the director.
Yes, because all things have happened here, including magic, and the director is the magician of the film. Tell us something about the guy who made this.
Okay, and I did not know any of this, folks, so I was pretty fascinated. Stanley Duncan, he's the director. He was born in South Carolina, and listen, I don't know how he started out as a tap dancer. That was his passion, and that's what he wanted to be. And he became a tap dancer. And this led him to Broadway, and he eventually met Gene Kelly. This was about 1941. The two of them became friends. And over the next 2 decades, the next decade, they collaborated on the choreography of films like On the Town in 49, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Singing in the Rain, both in 52. And they brilliantly choreographed these movies. In 49, eventually, Donovan would be awarded a 7-year contract with MGM. In fact, Donovan and Kelly are credited with having made a significant transition of musicals and especially the dance form. I mean, when you think of Fred Astaire going back, most of the dancing was done as if it was on a Broadway stage or something. And Donovan and Kelly kind of made this transition to make the music part of the movie more integral into the rest of the story. And it was quite a leap. And there's lots of people out there who argue who was the real innovator. Was it Don and was it Kelly? I forget about that. They were collaborators. They did it together, and they made history. So his other films, these are all musicals: Royal Wedding, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, It's Always Fair Weather, Funny Face, and he got going, and he he and Kelly, they had a great partnership, but they split. They kind of had a bad ending there. And Donnan went on his own, and he formed his own production company. And he started. By the way, these movies, he kind of co-directed or directed those musicals I just mentioned. So that's what he was doing. He was directing these musicals, but he became more than a director. He became a producer, and he formed his own production company. And he did in 1958 Indiscreet with Cary Grant and can't remember. Can't remember. Anyways, and it wasn't a musical. And then in '63, he made Charade, not a musical. And Charade ended up being one of Donnan's most praised movies. And Donnan just said, listen, I did this movie because I always wanted to make a movie like one of my favorite directors, Alfred Hitchcock. And I wanted to make a movie like North by Northwest. And I just wanted to do it. And so he was attracted to this material that was originally a novel by Peter Stone. And he got Peter Stone to write the script for his movie. And voila, he made Charade, which is known as the best Hitchcock movie that Hitchcock never made. So that's the director, Stanley Duncan.
Okay, so we are at about the halfway point in our show. Topi, go ahead and set up for me the clip that we're about to listen to.
So this is a scene from the movie about midway. Lots of things have happened. For one thing, Cary Grant, we can't figure out, by we, I mean us, the audience, and also Audrey Hepburn, can't figure out if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And for like the third time, she's finding out his real name, if it's even his real name. And they're on this little cute little riverboat where they're having dinner, and it's on whatever the famous French river is there. And they're talking, and here we go.
You haven't spoken a word for 20 minutes.
I was thinking about Charles and Scobie and who's going to be next. Me? I don't suppose you know who the murderer is, do you?
No, not yet.
Whoever's left alive at the end will pretty much have sewn up the nomination, don't you think?
What are you trying to say, that I might have killed Charles and Scobie? What I have to do to satisfy you? Become the next victim?
It's a start, anyway.
Oh, I can't understand you at all. One minute you're chasing me around the shower room, and the next minute you're accusing me of murder.
Carson Dial had no brother.
Oh, I can explain that if you'll just listen.
Well, I can't very well leave without a pair of water wings, can I?
All right, get set for the story of my life.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Why don't you shut up?
Well,
Are you going to listen?
go on.
All right. Now, when I was a young man, my father expected me to go into his business. Umbrella frames, that's what he made. Well, a sensible business, I suppose, but I didn't have the sense in those days to be sensible.
I suppose all this is leading somewhere.
Well, it led me away from umbrella frames, for one thing. But that left me without any honest means of support.
What do you mean?
Well, in this highly competitive world, when a man has no profession, there isn't much choice. So I began looking for people who had more money than they needed, including some they barely miss.
You mean you're a thief?
Well, that's not exactly the term I'd have chosen, but it sort of captures the spirit of the thing.
I don't believe it.
I can't really blame you now.
But I do believe it. That's what I don't believe. So it's goodbye, Alexander Dial, and welcome home, Peter Joshua.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, the name's Adam Camfield.
Adam Canfield?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Did you realize you've had 3 names in the past 2 days? I don't even know who I'm talking to anymore.
No, the man's the same, even if the name isn't.
No, he isn't the same. Adam Canfield is a crook, and I want to know why.
Well, it's simple. I like what I do. I enjoy my work. There aren't many men in the world who love their work as much as I do. I mean, you can look around sometime.
Is there a Mrs. Canfield?
Yes, but we're divorced.
Mm.
That's right. Now go and eat your dinner.
Oh, I could eat a horse.
I think that's what you ordered.
Don't you dare be civil with me after leading me on like this.
How did I lead you on?
Oh, that marvelous rejection. You knew I couldn't resist it, and now it turns out all you're interested in is the money.
That's right.
Oh.
Well, what would you like me to say? That a pretty girl with an outrageous manner means more to an old pro like me than $250,000?
I don't suppose so.
Well, it's a toss-up, I can tell you that.
What?
Hasn't it occurred to you that I'm having a tough time keeping my hands off you? Oh, you should see your face.
What's the matter with it?
It's lovely. Now what's the trouble?
I'm not hungry anymore. Isn't it glorious?
Okay, so there was, of course, a boatload, and we could say that because there was just a boat in this boatload of talent that came together to make this film. We just learned about the director. Now we're going to talk about the folks that appeared in front of the camera. And that, of course, starts with Miss Audrey Hepburn. Now, in today's vernacular, Audrey Hepburn would be considered what we call an influencer, a trend setter. She was one of those people that you looked at the photos when she would appear in a magazine. What is Audrey wearing? Because, the young girls, they want to dress like her and be like her. So Miss Audrey Hepburn played Regina Lampert in this film. And Audrey was actually born in Brussels, Belgium. Her mother was a Belgian duchess, so she descends from royalty, people. And or maybe that's just aristocracy, but her father was born of English and Austrian heritage. After her parents' divorce, she would follow her mother to and from London, where she attended private school as a young girl. While vacationing with her mother in the Netherlands, Hitler invaded and the Nazis began their occupation. Once safely back in London, she attended a ballet school under a scholarship. During this time, she was discovered and took part in her earliest minor roles in the late 40s and early 50s, eventually leading her to leave for America. Charade was Audrey's 18th film. Her films just prior were The Children's Hour in 61, which starred Shirley MacLaine and James Garner.
Ugh, don't watch it.
But in 61 was a little gem that Topi and I were talking about behind the curtain, Breakfast at Tiffany's, which, of course, if you've been paying attention, we do love our Truman Capote stories, and Breakfast at Tiffany's is one of those.
A fun, brilliant, sweet movie.
And this was in 61 with George Peppard, who, folks, if you didn't know, he played the salt and pepper haired guy on the A-Team. He was the brains behind the operation in the 80s.
Yes. And last name pronounced more like Peppard.
Peppard.
Yeah.
Okay. And Breakfast at Tiffany's also had an actress from one of Topi's favorite pilots, Patricia Neal, who played the original Mama on the Waltons.
Mama Walton.
In the 5 years prior to Charade, Hepburn averaged a film a year. Following Charade, she would appear in 5 more films, including a personal favorite in 64, My Fair Lady, which on Broadway actually starred Julie Andrews. And the film starred Audrey and Rex Harrison. Also in 66, Audrey starred in a film with Mr. Peter O'Toole, and it was How to Steal a Million. And in 67, Hepburn retired from acting. And she would divorce and remarry. And by 1970, so by the new decade, she gave birth to the first of her two children.
And that was really her life from then on. She absolutely devoted to raising her children.
She would only briefly return to acting in a film that I absolutely want to catch now because it has Mr. Sean Connery, talk about 007. And it's a story about Robin Hood called Robin and Marian in 1976.
It was fun, a fun movie.
And Audrey appeared in a total of 3 more films. Her last being a film that we may embark upon in the future here, because it's also another of my favorites, with Mr. Richard Dreyfuss and John Goodman. Also, Holly Hunter from Jodie Foster's first film, which was Home for the Holidays. In 89, Audrey Hepburn appeared in Always, where she had a cameo as an angel. Before her untimely death at the age of 63 from cancer of the appendix, in 93, Hepburn, in 93, she passed unexpectedly. And Hepburn, by the end of her career, had only 34 acting credits. So she was a bright star who retired at her pinnacle, and we still talk about her to this day. You know, Topi, there's a leading man in the story, the man who took Audrey by his arm, and tell us a little about Mr. Cary Grant.
Well, perhaps because, Cary Grant's a guy and Audrey Hepburn is a woman, and there were expectations. Cary Grant's career went on for freaking decades. He never, he didn't have to retire to raise children. Be that as it may, Cary Grant played Peter Joshua. Of course, he has many names in this movie, Charade. But he was born in England, and at 9 years old, he would return home from school to be told his mother had run off to a seaside resort. This is kind of, okay, I got to tell you, Cary Grant's early years, kind of tragic. Okay, he was told his mother had run off to a seaside resort, but actually, because men could do this to their wives back then, the husband had committed his wife to an institution. Insane, whatever. What did they call it? You were
put away.
Put away? No. It's got a term to do with the uterus. Anyways, why I'm getting angry about this. Okay, so I just think it's horrible what happened here. He had no idea his mother had been institutionalized for years. Anyways, Grant dropped out of school at 14, joined an entertaining troupe, the Pender Boys, where he became this acrobat, and he learned comedy and pantomime, and he loved it, and he had a great time. And in the 30s, Grant was selected to travel to the U.S. to join their Broadway show that was called Good Times. And it's said that Mae West discovered him there.
Oh, he went up and saw her sometime.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's what kind of led to Cary Grant showing up on the West Coast in movies. So listen, oh my God, we could go on forever about Cary Grant. His career went on for so long. By the way, he eventually did learn the truth about his mother and visited her. She was still alive in the institution. And if you can imagine what he felt at that time about his father for never telling him. Tragic. Anyways, so the movie that he did prior to Charade was called A Touch of Mink. That was in 62 with Doris Day. And he also starred in another 6 movies, including Houseboat with Sophia Loren, Operation Petticoat. These were kind of in his latter years. He was already in his 60s when he did Charade, and it was one of his last 3 movies because Grant finally retired at the age of 62, where I think we can praise him. He had a young wife and had raised a daughter, and he also pretty much dedicated his life to raising her. So there you go. One of the other big players is the great, the wonderful Walter Matthau, DJ.
Oh, yes, indeedy. Mr. Walter Matthau appears in Charade, and he's one of the figures that the leading lady, Reggie, by Audrey Hepburn, is trying to figure out. Although when she first meets him, she's pretty clear of his intentions because it's shortly after her husband has passed, so she has no reason to question his story. Anyways, Walter Matthau played Mr. Bartholomew. Matthau was born in New York City. His mother was of Lithuanian descent and his father was Ukrainian. He began working in television in the 50s. Charade was his 4th film. And just prior, he'd appeared in a film in 62 with Robert Preston, the guy who's famous for The Music Man and many others, and Tony Randall in Island of Love. And after Charade, Matthau would star in a film in 64 with Robert Walker Jr. and Burl Ives, Ensign Pulver. Now, over the next 5 years, Matthau would continue to appear in 9 films, including in 64, a little film with Mr. Henry Fonda, Failsafe. And also in 64, Goodbye Charlie with Tony Curtis and Debbie Reynolds. And 65, a film with Gregory Peck called Mirage. Most ironically, Matthau would have his first of 9 co-starring roles with Jack Lemmon in The Odd Couple a few years after Charade in 68.
Yes.
Now, before his passing, which was in 2000, Matthau reached the age of 79. He had 106 acting credits. And in 2 of his last 3 films, Matthau would reunite with Lemmon. His final film was a feature in 2000 with Diane Keaton called Hanging Up. And if you haven't been paying attention, just this last year, we discussed a film with Walter Matthau in it. I'm sorry, not Matthau, it was Jack Lemmon. Apologies. My Fellow Americans, which is quite a fun film. And you can go back into our archives and check that one out. But
Yeah.
I cannot believe how fun some of Matthau's earliest films were, because as many of you know, it's no secret that we adore Goldie Hawn, and the 60s was the beginning of her career. And there's a little gem that Matthau appeared in after Charade that starred Goldie Hawn in one of her earliest roles. He played a dentist, and it was called Cactus Flower. You got to check this movie out, folks.
So, I don't know. One of the, Matthau was a character. I mean, he was a character actor, but he was also a real character. I mean, he loved to gamble. It said he lost fortunes. And one of the reasons he kept working late in life was because he needed the money. At any rate, I think it was horse racing. He was madly in love with horse racing.
Sounds like an uncle of mine.
Yeah. Anyways, but who would have ever thunk, someone that looked like Walter Matthau could have a career like he did? And it's just because he was so freaking talented, and he was a great character actor. So let's talk more about the nitty gritty here, DJ. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I don't think this was your first viewing, was it?
It was not. I actually had caught it the other year because, once again, if you folks pay attention, we discussed a film that was very similar to this. It was made after Charade, and that starred Doris Day. Now,
Yes. I was thinking of this too, DJ.
oh, now in hindsight, I like to think that film, which was called Caprice, it's not one of Doris Day's better known films, was sort of a spoof on Charade because they had many of the same themes. And of course, in that film, Doris Day's character is basically a spy. She goes to the cosmetics company to find out, how the narcotics are being smuggled. But I caught Charade shortly after that film because my nerd brother, Mr. Topi Smelly here, told me all about Charade at that point. And that's one of the beauties of our show, folks. If you enjoy television, if you enjoy films, and you listen to our show, you're going to find out other films and projects that this director or that actor that maybe you only caught in this or that thing have done. And it's like going to school, and these actors and these directors have people they work with, and they have fun together when they're working, and they will do things again. So it's like going to school and you find out, that person you used to take your lunch with has done other things. So Caprice was that. Now,
it's funny, DJ, because okay, I'm kind of, I guess I'm okay with thinking that they were trying to spoof Charade.
mm-hmm.
But if you hadn't have said that, I was going to say they were actually trying to, to do a movie like Charade.
Yeah.
But maybe you're right. Maybe they were thinking more of a spoof. But anyways, let's talk about Charade. I seen it years ago, and on TV. And I want to ask you this, DJ. You got to go back to your first watching.
Uh-huh.
I remember my first watching and truly being unsure about Cary Grant. Is he the good guy or is he the bad guy? And I think they did a good job all the way through that movie where you're not ever really sure until the end. And I just wonder, that was I felt they did a good job with that. Now, how about you?
Oh, absolutely. Because of course it all starts with the funeral, Audrey Hepburn's character sitting there and waiting for the people who are going to pay their last respects to her husband, who she was about to divorce anyway. So she's probably not thoroughly broken up about this situation here. But these men she's possibly never seen before show up. One of them actually sticks a straight pin in the corpse to make sure that he's gone. And Cary Grant shows up shortly after that. And he gives her a talking to basically to set her straight and to maybe put her mind at ease. But as you were saying, each time she runs into him again, he ends up trying to peel back a layer of that onion and tell her, oh, well, that's not my name. It's actually this. And, oh, well, there is a Mrs., but we're divorced.
Right. And at the end of this continues to the end of the movie, where there is this wonderful chase sequence where Audrey Hepburn is trying to get away and Cary Grant is fast on her heels. And at that point, you just don't know. Is he racing to save her or is he racing to kill her? It's awesome. It is awesome.
And, and then there's that really great moment where Audrey Hepburn's hiding in the phone booth and she's calling that office, which I think was at the American Embassy.
Yeah.
And she thinks that she's reaching out to the good guy. She asks for him by name. The person who's taking the call doesn't know who she is because...
Yeah, and we've never seen him before.
Yeah, there was an imposter before. So that puts you on the trail. But Topi, this doesn't really give a spoiler, but in the trivia I was reading that supposedly there are some old tropes that are used in movie making and that we're supposed to pick up on these things. It gives you a hint on the roles. And Walter Matthau's character, Mr. Bartholomew, apparently had a smudge or something on his tie early on in the film, and that's supposed to tell you that he's dirty.
Oh, I honest to God, I mean, I guess.
But
That would never have occurred to me, but I guess.
I think.
By the way, I wanted to. Okay, one of my favorite moments in this movie is when Walter Matthau is in there with Audrey Hepburn, and he says, "Would you like a sandwich? I got tuna, and tuna. No, liverwurst, tuna, and tuna. I don't know." And at first she refuses, but he immediately starts eating a sandwich. Okay, there is something so wonderful about watching Walter Matthau eat that goddamn sandwich. I don't know what it is, but it tickles me, and I just love it. I can't stop watching him eat that sandwich.
It's so terrific because you think of Audrey Hepburn as this gentle woman who's, fairly classy. She's dressed to the nines, and she's sitting in this man's office after her husband's been murdered. And she's offered a sandwich. She's not sure that she's hungry. Of course, with that figure, when does she eat? But it's like, liverwurst? Sure. Hand me a slice of Spam, would you?
Yeah, I mean, and then he hauls out a paper cup and opens a bottle of wine, uncorks it, and pours the wine into the paper cup, and that's his lunch. Anyways, I can never get over that scene. Let me ask you another question.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that some of the choices they made for Cary Grant in this movie veer off from sweet to just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that why the scene where Cary Grant gets into the shower and soaps up with his clothes on, okay, too cutesy for me.
Yeah,
I thought they went too far. I thought that was a wrong choice. And there's several other moments where they just, and it's more Cary Grant than Audrey Hepburn, where they just make him too damn cutesy.
I would agree with you that it's too cutesy, and the trivia tells me the reasons why, of course, these things happened, because Cary Grant was already in his wizened years, I guess they'd say, and he was concerned about the age difference between him and Hepburn. And they actually had been in another film a decade before, one of her most iconic, Roman Holiday, that we were teasing Gertie about her scooter. But I one of the things that I enjoyed about this film was that they purposefully turned the angles of the pursuit, in that Audrey Hepburn's character was not being chased as a love interest by Cary Grant. They actually turned the tables. She was after him. And for that time period, that wasn't normally expected. You didn't expect the girl to chase the guy. So
yeah,
that partly addressed the age difference. And then, of course, the other thing being that Cary Grant, being in his 60s, he wasn't in his best shape. So the decision to have him shower with his clothes on partly was to hide the fact that he had a pot belly.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that part. At any rate, they sparkle on screen together, and their exchanges of dialogue are fast and witty. It's marvelously written. The lines are written, and also the other thing that it does well is there's moments of suspense, and some of the thrills are quite genuine. One of the first being James Coburn lighting the matches in the phone booth and throwing them onto Audrey Hepburn's lap. I felt so menaced the first time I saw that. I was like, oh my God.
Well, then, of course, in response to that, when Cary Grant discovers her in the phone booth, she says to him, "I'm having a nervous breakdown because this man is terrifying her."
She's got some sort of sweet that she's like putting in her mouth to calm herself. Like, I don't know, it's some sort of confection. It's not a lollipop, but it's some sort of hard candy.
I was going to say maybe something she snagged from the table because she had just come from a meeting with them, I think maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's another scene, that whole scene with the international audience and the orange, where it's the entertainment. Again, I thought they just played Grant a little too cutesy there. It's minor. It doesn't ruin the movie by any means. I just thought like,
No,
go ahead.
I was to say there's also a moment during the film where you get to experience some of the European pop culture, and they're in the park and there's a puppet show going on. Of course,
I love that scene.
Topi, set it up for the folks, because this is something you seem familiar with.
Well, Audrey Hepburn is in the park passing the time. She's watching the ancient old puppet show Punch and Judy being performed for an audience of children that are before her, and she's watching. And Cary Grant just sort of happens to come upon her and says hi, and they talk about the Punch and Judy theme, which Audrey Hepburn, says, is somewhat like what's happening to her. There's a mystery about Punch and Judy that has to be solved, and who to believe. That was the main theme of Punch and Judy. Who do you really believe, Punch or Judy?
Punch had faked his own death.
Yes. So that was and the intercutting of the French children, so wonderful. You could tell that they went out and actually probably really filmed a Punch and Judy show somewhere to get those reactions from the kids. Anyways, it's nice. It was such a nice bit of filmmaking there. By the way, do you recall? Did you guess where the money was at any point? Because there's lots of clues, like where the hell is this money everyone's looking for? Everyone thinks Audrey Hepburn has it. Well, in fact, she did, but in a surprising way. I don't remember figuring that part out.
I don't remember figuring it out the first time I saw it. And of course, obviously knowing it in the second watching, but I was trying to realize at what point I understood that she had it. And I thought that it was when she was in that bedroom with her friend's kid, and he was so excited about the suitcase on top of the wardrobe.
Yeah. I love the scene where they're going. There's several scenes where they're going through the contents of that case. Tooth powder, a toothbrush, and so on and so forth. It's just kind of funny.
And it's so perfect, though, that basically it's the child that already has it figured out because it was their hobby.
Right. Well, not necessarily figured out, but yeah.
He had that perspective that made them think about things.
Yeah.
Like the kids in the park because of his hobby. And oh, wait, these things are worth money.
Yeah. And another one of my favorite scenes, I don't know why exactly, it's just the way they play it, is when they go back to the guy that purchased the stamps. And he's got them and he says, well, I know why you are back here. And he tells the story of the stamps and the history of them. There's something about the way that plays that it's just like one of my favorite scenes. There's nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I just love it.
I love the fact that he is a wise and older gentleman, and obviously he's French, and it just gives you part of that respect that he did it just for the thrill of having those rare items. And he's like, that's all I wanted was just to hold them.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to keep them for good.
He expected that they would be back, that it was a mistake. Anyways, I love that scene. I I love the whole chase at the end and the way it goes into the theater and the way it's resolved. It's, in my mind, just one of those gem of a movies.
And it's kind of interesting because towards the end of the film, they're at the park and you hear the sort of carnival music.
Yes.
And that's something that becomes popular, I want to say, in the 80s with horror movies. They do that kind of carnival atmosphere as part of the chase scene.
Yeah, that was in there. The music is well, just really helps. I mean, like the music they play at the chase at the end is like, wow, you just feel like, woo, you feel the, and that's a great chase sequence.
Okay, well, Topi, we're at the end of the hour, and
already? Oh, I hate to leave Charade.
We have walked out here towards the lobby, and this, of course, is a segment that we like to call our snack tray, because once you've finished your goodies, you realize what's left, and we're going to tell you about some other entertainment that you might enjoy if you like Charade or if you like films of that.
Gigi, what did you come up with? You go first.
Well, I thought about this a couple of times, though. I'm forgetting the name of it, but there was a film that I considered for a moment, and it was a Woody Allen film with Diane Keaton.
Which one?
It was like a Manhattan Murder.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be a good one to watch, but I think more directly I'm reminded of this film because Charade takes place in Paris, and unbeknownst to me, this is actually a remake. In '88, originally this film was done with Richard Chamberlain and Charlie's Angel Jacqueline Smith. And more recently, in 2002, this film was revived and made into a series of successful films with Mr. Matt Damon. And it's called The Bourne Identity. A man is picked up by a fishing boat, bullet-riddled and suffering from amnesia, before racing to elude assassins and attempting to regain his memory. Bourne Identity, and it's a chase where he's recovering his memory of being a man for hire, and it's set in the excitement of a French city in Paris.
Wait a minute, I want you to go over the bit about the movie that came before Bourne Identity. What was this? I did not know this.
Certainly, I did not know this either. So many films that we enjoy are made popular by a more known actor, or at least an actor that's popular when the film comes out. So this film had actually been previously made. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't a theatrical release. That explains it. In '88, there was a TV miniseries called The Bourne Identity.
Really?
And it very literally, the synopsis says, an injured, unconscious man washes ashore in a small French town. As he recovers, it becomes quite clear someone is trying to kill him. And that was Richard Chamberlain and Jacqueline Smith in the original TV miniseries.
No kidding. And that TV miniseries came out before the movie.
Right. And,
wow.
More than a decade, almost two, they decide to put it in the theater on the silver screen with Mr. Matt Damon. So,
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did not either. And the Bourne Identity storyline became a series of films, and I want to say there were at least 4 or 5. It was
my god, I knew there were 3. Did it really go on that long?
Oh my goodness, it was so good, Topi, because the character, since he was a man for hire, he had to basically be deadly. He had to know many ways to kill a man just with his bare hands.
Right. And Matt Damon was in all of them?
Most of them. There was a point in time after 3 or so that another actor took over the part.
Okay.
But then after a time, Matt Damon decided, sure, I'll do another one.
Okay. So he came back to the role. That's unusual.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting. By the way, before I forget, I'm pretty sure this is true, folks. Don't take my word for it, but I believe Charade was actually remade for the theaters, and it starred the guy that did the science in the Jurassic Park. What was his name? He's got his own show now.
Oh, Bill Nye?
No, he was the guy that showed people how chaos worked. I'm trying to do his voice here. Who the hell is that? And he's got a show now on the Discovery or something. And can't you tell who I'm doing? Oh my God, I can't. If I could think of his name, I'd tell you. The guy that was in Jurassic Park, and he was in the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and he was in The Fly. David
Jeff
Cronenberg.
Goldblum.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
He's from Pittsburgh, you know.
Okay. Anyways, if I'm correct, Jeff Goldblum made a remake of Charade, and I can't remember who the co-star was, and it was basically a box office flop, and I would love to be able to tell you the title, but I can't remember. Let me tell you my snack tray.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really obvious one. It's the movie that the director wanted to replicate or achieve something like. And my God, if you loved Charade, you're going to love Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest with Cary Grant. It's a wonderful, fun thrill ride. And well, there's just so much to love about it. So that is my recommendation. If you loved Charade, you'll love North by Northwest.
Oh, excellent. So we've got some things to look forward to, and maybe by the time the leaves change here in the not quite Apple country, we'll get you out to Chateau Star Sage and maybe show you one of these Matt Damon movies.
Ooh, all right.
So, right, Topi, the Marionette is a celebrated venue of many splendid things that have gone through these doors: vaudeville, magic acts, and there's a bag of coins.
Gertie. Sorry.
Yes. Well, she is splendid, and
and many things.
I'm just glad that she's got both shoes on and the right socks tonight that match. Anyways, okay, get those coins for me.
All right, the magic coins, the magician from vaudeville left. Here you go. Got your coins here. All right.
Alrighty. So, it should be said that this kind of snuck up on us, but, here that we are in the crux of summer, we're going to take a little break shortly here. So this is going to be our season finale before our hiatus, because, really? It gets hot here in the Marionette. The AC ain't that great. And, now that it's legal, I hear Gertie's been wanting to plant some things, but hey, you didn't hear it from me.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. What do we got? What do you got for next time?
Okay. So before I actually tell you, I'm going to play a little ditty, and for those of you who've seen it, you should be able to figure it out from this little tune. It's a jingle for a product that is part of this film. Here we go.
Galaxy Glue, Galaxy Glue. What would we do without Galaxy Glue? Galaxy Glue, Galaxy Glue. Life would go to pieces without Galaxy Glue.
This film stars, the one ringy dingy lady. And, this is an early 80s comedy sci-fi movie by the future director of St. Elmo's Fire and Flatliners, starring the funny woman from Laugh-In and 9 to 5, a housewife grows smaller and smaller in reaction to chemicals found in cosmetics and household products. Co-starring Charles Grodin. Next time on Matinee Minutia, the incredible shrinking woman.
You never said who's in it. You never gave her a name.
I am sorry. One ring jingy, Lily Tomlin.
There you go.
Oh, and that jingle was so good. Let's play it again.
Galaxy Blue, Galaxy Blue. What would we do without Galaxy Blue? Galaxy Blue, Galaxy Blue. Life would go to pieces without Galaxy Blue.
And that is on Friday, August 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern. And, show up early because Gertie has been selling raffle tickets at the home, I hear.
I'm sure. So this would be a treat for me, Deej, because I've never seen it, and I love Lily Tomlin. So this is going to be great.
And I have it on good authority that her future wife actually wrote the story on this one.
Okay, they are collaborators, frequent collaborators on their work together. So awesome.
So,
all right. And by the way, Incredible Shrinking Woman, just a little twist. Doesn't really have a lot to do with it, but there was a 50s black and white movie called The Incredible Shrinking Man about a man who kept shrinking. It was not a comedy, but I do believe that this Incredible Shrinking Woman is indeed a comedy.
It certainly is. Most definitely with Lily Tomlin. And if I can get my keyboard to work, let me type this in and see if I can put something into the chat room. By the way, Topi, please do let us know, peek over the balcony and tell us who is in our chat room tonight.
So we love it when people come by when we do this live. And I'd like to thank Lamont Cranston, Maren Gertz for coming by, and also the ever mysterious Crone Haven. Thank you all for coming by and keeping us company while we do it live. It's much more fun with you when you're here.
Okay, so if you would be so kind, sir, to tell us if you could say goodnight in the ways of the old days of radio.
Good night, Gracie.
And okay. I'll play our credits. Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia.
Our show streams live on the first and third Friday of the month.
Go to univazpods.net, click the tower for streaming audio. Enter Discord for our chat room.
You can find our show anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Find us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Find our group on Facebook.
Or visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Have an idea for a show? Or why not let us know how we're doing?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com. Let's see.
Show's Gone Wild with Matt and Tom.
Speak up.
The Smellcast by Topi Smelling.
Be heard.
Tastes like burning with Tim and James.
Unique voices in podcasting.
The Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti.
univazpods.net. And for those of you still listening on the stream, I'm just going to play a minute or so of the jingle from Incredible Shrinking Woman. Turn it down a skosh here so we can just talk over it. So apparently the musician that wrote this, Miss Linda November, actually wrote a full-length song. So I once helped a friend out that was taking a broadcast course, and she had me do the voiceover for her fictional product. So I can only imagine, the experience of songwriting when you're doing it for a fictional product.
Yeah.
But that's the great thing about this movie when we see it, because there's all of these products that are throughout the film, because the main character's husband works in advertising.
Uh-huh.
And, typical early 80s fashion, you've got all these jingles and all these, eye-catching ads. And Lily Tomlin's character actually sings to her children when they go to bed. They actually they request by name. They want their mom to sing Little Bar of Soap.
Oh, dear God. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun.
All right, folks. I'm going to go ahead and take us off the stream here.
Good night, everybody.
Stopping the recording. Go over to